So we can move to the last contribution of this session, which will deal with the nuclear medicine role in the diagnosis, in the diagnostic part of thyroid disease and thyroid nodules. And next talk will be given by Dottoressa Elisa Lodi Rizzini. She works in Bologna, a very important and renowned institution on nuclear medicine and radiotherapy, with a huge experience in thyroid cancer, actually. Please.
I'm very happy to be here in this very important and interesting meeting. And I want to extend the greetings of Dr. Monari, who apologized for not being here today. I will speak about the role of nuclear medicine in thyroid nodule, in diagnosis of thyroid nodule. Briefly, the definition, thyroid nodule is a common feature occurring very frequently in population, with an increased prevalence after introduction of ultrasonography in clinical practice. Nodules can be palpable, non-palpable, solitary or multiple, and frequently is asymptomatic and is discovered during a health examination or a diagnostic exam performed by other reason. Can be benign, but from 5 to 10% can be malignant. So the primary aim is investigating thyroid nodules to exclude a thyroid malignancy. The American Thyroid Association says that only nodules more than 1 centimeter in diameter should be evaluated because have a greater potential to be clinically significant cancer. And on the contrary, nodules less than 1 centimeter require evaluation only occasionally. Radionuclide imaging provides useful information about the autonomous function of the thyroid nodule, and for this reason, because the evaluation is only for exclude the malignancy, is not a first instance exam in a thyroid node evaluation, but provides complementary information in association with the other diagnostic methods, supports clinical decision-making, and occasionally differentiates benign from malignant thyroid nodules with indeterminate cytology supported by immunocytochemistry or molecular testing. Scintigraphy has a higher sensitivity, but unfortunately a lower specificity. The nodule is functionally classified into hot nodules or hyperfunctional if there is present a focal increased accumulation of the radiotracer, warm or isofunctional, or cold or hypofunctional is focal photopenic defect devoid of the tracer uptake. Frequently, the nodule is cold more frequently, about 18–85%, and only about 10% is the cold nodule is malignant. The hot nodule malignancy potential is less than 1% of incidence. Scintigraphy can be requested before the cytological evaluation or after in the case of cytologically indeterminate nodules, and in this case the risk of malignancy is from 10 to 13%, so the early delineation in this case is essential because delays in diagnosis is associated with increased malignancy. American Thyroid Association says that thyroid scan should be performed only if the serum TSH is subnormal. The European Society of Nuclear Medicine declined to endorse this recommendation and says that normal TSH levels does not preclude the need for thyroid scintigraphy. This is the radiotracer, the main radiotracer used in nuclear medicine for the evaluation of thyroid nodules. Written in black, we can see the radiotracer that are indicated in the current guideline. while written in gray, the radio tracer that are not indicated in the current guideline because there are no sufficient data for accepted they use in routinary medical practice today. This schematically, we can see the different metabolic pathways in radioisotope imaging of thyroid nodules. On the central part of the image, we can see the iodine 123 and the technetium 99 pertenectated that enter the cell with the same sodium iodine symporter. And in the cell, iodine is organificated with thyroglobulin to form thyroid hormone. On the contrary, technetium pernectated is not organified in the cell and is not retained in the cell. On the right, we can see technetium MIB that enters the cell, takes advantage of its lipophilic nature, and in the cell it concentrates into the mitochondria. And on the left, FDG that enters the cell through the transmembrane glucose transporter 1, and in the cell is retained because it's phosphorylated. It is phosphorylated. Now I will describe you the main tracer mentioned above. For many years, I started with iodine 132. For many years, this tracer was the main study agent for the assessment of thyroid gland function, but its characteristic, the beta emission and a long half-life of 8 days, the high energy gamma emission that give poor image quality and a high radiation dose to the patient. For this reason, it was gradually abandoned, and its use still remains for the evaluation of remnant metastatic disease after radioiodine therapy and for the uptake calculation for the hyperthyroidism. On the contrary, iodine 123 have a shorter half-life, is a pure gamma emitter, and characterized by the persistent accumulation in the thyroid. And so it's traduced in a high imaging quality, and this tracer, for this reason, is the agent of choice for thyroid imaging, even if in the case of warm nodule on a technetium scan. In this image, in fact, we can see a case of discordant iodine and technetium scans. We can see at the left a hot nodule at technetium scan, and on the right, conversely, a cold nodule at iodine. At final histology, the nodule was a papillary thyroid cancer according to iodine and not to technetium pernectated. Technetium pernectated have a half-life of 6 hours and is eluted from the 99 molybdenum generator that is readily available in any nuclear medicine center. So is more available, is less expensive, and is faster performed because it is not retained into the cell because it's not organified. So a lot of nuclear medicine centers have adopted this tracer instead of iodine 123. This is an imaging of a very hot nodule, hyperfunctional to the technetium scan at the lower left lobe that almost entirely suppressing the remainder of the gland and the corresponding ultrasonography. This is the case of a Plummer adenoma. On the contrary, in this technetium scan, there is a slight photopenic defect on the lower left thyroid lobe. And at cytology, according to Italian consensus, was a tier 2, so a benign cold nodule. In this case, we have a decrease in inhomogeneous activity through the gland associated with multiple little hypofunctional areas bilaterally. The cytology is negative for malignancy, and we have a multinodular pathology associated with thyroiditis. Technetium 99 maybe is a tracer that is not indicated in current guidelines, but its role is emerging in differentiated banning from malignant lesion, especially when the nodules is called on a previous iodine or technetium 99 pernicious scintigraphy on the basis of intensity uptake within the nodule and the assessment of an eventual increase in uptake within the nodule over the time in comparison with the radiotracer washout. So retention time and washout for normal tissue thyroid is calculated. This is the diagnostic accuracy of technetium MIB that increased by combined use of SPECT-CT and its negative predictive values that reaches 100. Only for non-oncocytic thyroid lesion. There are no recommendations in oncocytic lesion. This image is taken from literature and shows the different situation. In the upper, we can see technetium 99 scan, and below MIB. In figure A and B, we have both the cases negative, with negative technetium and negative MIB, at the cytology was the nodules were benign nodules. On the contrary, in C and D, we have, as we can see, cold nodule on the technetium 99 scan and a positive MIB, and at histology, the nodule were carcinoma, papillary cancer. In figure E, there was a cold nodule and a positive MIB on the upper of the right lobe of the thyroid. So, summarizing, we can say on the basis of these studies that when MIB scan is negative, nodule is certainly benign. When MIB scan is positive, nodule can be malignant or benign with an increased specificity and diagnostic occurrence if, for diagnosis of malignant lesion, if previous iodine or technetium pernicious shows a cold nodule. Thallium is another radiotracer not indicated in the current guideline, but there are few studies, Japan study, that demonstrate the useful in differentiating benign from malignant nodules, take advantage of its biological properties that are similar to potassium. So it's used for myocardial and renal medullary imaging, but also for tumor detection. In this recent study, retrospective study, the authors value the diagnostic evaluation of ultrasonography of dual scintigraphy, thallium and technetium, in differentiating between benign and malignant thyroid nodules. It's a retrospective study of 86 patients, and all patients performed before previously a 99 technetium pernicious scan, and almost all the nodules are cold, and then performed a thallium scan with two phases, an early phase as seen in this slide, and a late phase. And then, after scintigraphy scan, was performed cytology. The thallium scan delineated two different patterns, a delay accumulation pattern and a persistent pattern. The persistent pattern was associated more frequently to a malignant nodule, instead a delayed accumulation pattern that was associated of a benign nodule. This is the imaging. In the upper part, we can see a delayed accumulation pattern with, on the left, a technetium scan with a cold nodule on the arrow, and a positive thallium both in the early and in the delayed phase when comparing to the surrounding tissue. Below, the persistent pattern. In this case, uptake is higher on the delayed phase when compared to the early phase. This is the table of diagnostic performance of ultrasonography and thallium scintigraphy. And I would just like to emphasize this value of specificity of persistent pattern that is very higher in compared with the delayed accumulation pattern, and is equal to the value of specificity of the ultrasonography. So the authors conclude that the assessment of thyroid nodules using a combination of ultrasonography and scintigraphy may be useful for exclusion of malignancy. About FDG PET, the American Association say with a strong recommendation that only in a case of focal FDG PET with the nodules more than 1 centimeter in diameter is recommended an evaluation with final need aspiration. Says also that FDG PET is not routinely recommended for the evaluation of indeterminate nodule, but this is a weak recommendation. The reason is because the use of FDG PET is still controversial with heterogeneous result in all the scenario of the thyroid disease, is not routinely used, and the majority of the case, the findings are incidental findings, and the focal uptake is not strictly associated with malignancy, but also in thyroiditis and benign nodules such as Hartle cell adenoma, we can find focal uptake. So FDG is a diagnostic tool reserved for selected patients. This is a very recent systematic review and a meta-analysis about the performance of FDG in selecting thyroid nodules with indeterminate cytology candidate to surgery. This is the pooled sensitivity, specificity, and predictive value. And this is the odds ratio value of 3.5 that indicate the moderate ability of FDG PET to correctly discriminate between malignant and benign lesion in the case of a indeterminate final needle aspiration, and is a reliable option to reduce unnecessary diagnostic surgery because could prevent about half of surgery. But there is many limitations, like nodule diameter, like benign nodule with abundant intracytoplasmatic mitochondria that can do a focal uptake, and the problem of the standard uptake value, the submax cutoff, because is still present several differences in protocol and methods for quantification of this value. This is an example of FDG PET and cytology, positive cytology and a positive FDG PET. With a focal paramedian uptake near the trachea, as we can see, with a submax of 8.4 at the cytology was a tier 4, and the histology says that the nodule was a papillary carcinoma. In this case, we have always still a focal uptake on the right lobe, but in this case, at cytology was a tier 2, so this is the case of benign hypermetabolic nodule. This is the case of not a focal uptake, but a diffuse uptake on the right lobe of thyroid, and the cytology, at cytology was a tier 2, so a thyroiditis. And at the end, we can see a voluminous goiter with high diffuse FDG uptake with a SUV max of 28.8, and this is the case of malignant lymphoma. So the take-home message are scintigraphy scan can be requested after a thyroid nodule was discovered with ultrasonography and needs of further characterization to avoid or confirm final needle aspiration, or after a cytological diagnosis of indeterminate thyroid nodules. Iodine 1, 23, and 23 represent the ideal tracer, but technetium 99 per tenectate is more available, less expensive, and gives less dose exposition to the patient. Technetium maybe could be used in case of cytological indeterminate nodule in non-oncocytic lesion, occasionally in selected patients, and FDG can be used in selected patients to evaluate cytological indeterminate thyroid nodule in order to avoid unnecessary diagnostic surgery. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Elisa, for your complete presentation. So there is time for some questions. I've got a curiosity about, is there a cutoff values you would consider for SUV values in order to, yes, detect malignancy, associated malignancy?
In the study I've showed, the cutoff is from 2 to 5 SUV-max, but there is no defined cutoff.
Okay, thanks. Questions? Mary? Yeah, of course. Mario, please.
Thank you. I am not familiar with the use of technetium, so we were just discussing if technetium is affected by the previous use of contrast material. Iodinated contrast material is obviously the obstacle that we face with the use of iodine. Can we use technetium in patients that had exposure to contrast material with iodine? Thank you.
Yes, there is no problem to the contrast. Technetium maybe or technetium pernectated? Pernectated. No, there is no problem.
Enrico Ragone, Napoli. Many compliments for your presentation. A lit question. When in ultrasonography examination, I see a nodular lesion, when I must the scintigraphy, the approfondiment, another approach, when I must or when I can?
When I have a suspect, radiologic suspect of the nodules, and when I want to exclude malignancy because maybe I suspect that there is an autonomous function of this nodule, and I want to indicate this autonomous function.
Okay, thank you. And in the clinical practice, there are the specific criteria for I ask the scintigraphy. The aspect of a nodular lesion in ultrasonography, the age of patients, because I ask in the clinical practice.
No, because as I say before,
Yes.
I can do the scan before or after the eventual final needle aspiration. So there is no a guideline that indicates before or after.
Because in the clinical practice, I don't ask always the scintigraphy. I think in base of the aspect or margin of a nodular lesion, and
I think that when there is more suspect, at the ultrasonography,
and there are the specific criteria. There are the specific criteria.
No. There is very individualized.
Agostino Andrade, Monsane, Miami. In United States, a fine needle aspiration, the doctor will charge about $120, $160 per aspiration, and the pathology costs about $120 to $180. But the scan will cost $1,200 to $2,000. So is that the same price in Italy? Number one.
I don't know.
Because the conclusion of your wonderful presentation is that you do the scan in order to avoid a fine needle aspiration.
Or confirm, to avoid or confirm.
Okay, so but price-wise, in the United States, it's cheaper to do the aspiration than the scan.
I don't know in Italy the cost of the exam, but I think that avoid an invasive practice is better than to confirm.
Evelyn Stoltema, endocrine surgeon. Thank you very much for your interesting presentation. I was wondering, in the FNA Bethesda cytology results in favor of benign lesions, because of the size, as an endocrine surgeon, we find cancers in the Bethesda too. So would there be, to your opinion, is there a place for MIBI iodine scintigraphy in large lesions with the FNA cytology in favor of benign lesions?
For dimension, the criteria is the dimension.
Endocrine surgeons tend to operate on lesions above 4 centimeters because they say FNA cytology is not viable. So we need other arguments to say that it's really benign and it's not necessary to operate, because if we look at surgical series, even the Italian group with 200 patients, I think in the lesions above 4 centimeters, Bethesda 2, and no ultrasound features of malignancy, there were up to 12% of cancers.
I think the problem of diameter is bound to the difficult to individuate the nodule at the previous technician scan. If a cold nodule, very little nodule, it's difficult to sign the ROI for the nodule on the scan, on the MIBI scan. I think this is the problem, the main problem.
I have a question about the practice with your, for example, scintigraphy. You do for all of the nodules, thyroid nodules?
Sorry,
You do this imaging, scintigraphy for all of the nodules, thyroid nodules, or only when we encountered with a decreased, for example, TSH, we don't use the scintigraphy in the nodules, because the percentage of the nodules that are malignant is very low. And according to the, for example, clinical and ultrasonographic findings, we can choose that do the scintigraphy or no. And when the TSH is normal or elevated, we can do this the scintigraphy imaging.
we do technetium pertenectated for all nodules. For all.
In some guidelines, this difference. And when we have encountered with a normal TSH, we do the scintigraphy because the nodules, we think that is cold. And when the TSH is decreased, we think that it's cold. In some guidelines, we use this practice.
We do it for all nodules.
You do all of the nodules, you do the scintigraphy.
But specificity is low. It's very low.
And about the price of this practice?
Very frequently we found a cold nodule, but benign lesion, not malignancy. We found very frequently cold nodules, but benign.
All of the cold nodules are not malignant. And
Are not?
all of the cold nodules are not malignant. And the price is very important for the patients, I think. And in our guidelines, when encountered with a normal TSH, we do the scintigraphy, not all of the nodules. And we can choose the person that need to FNA according to the picture of the nodules, for example, heterogeneity and the size of the nodules, for example, gender of the patient, and something like this one. And we choose that who must be have an FNA. Your practices.
Okay. Elisa, thank you. In closing this session, I just want to remark that, yes, of course, scintigraphy and nuclear medicine techniques are not, required for all nodules. We have herds of nodules. We should, yes, not only for economic reason, but this fine needle aspiration, of course, can give an answer for most of them. So thank you for your update on this area. Thank you, Elisa. And so I think we have a coffee break now. So enjoy it.